If you sit quietly for just 10 seconds, you can usually hear it. The low, constant hum of the things you haven't finished. The unwashed dishes, the email sitting in drafts, the conversation you keep putting off. They cycle through your mind, competing for space against whatever you are trying to focus on. It is common to blame this scattered feeling on a lack of personal discipline or a failure of willpower. However, this persistent interference points toward a structural procedure in how the brain handles information. It appears the mind follows a specific rule. It refuses to drop a task until it receives a very particular signal that the matter is closed. The first clues to this mental rule appeared in a bustling restaurant in 1920s Berlin. A researcher noticed a waiter who could hold massive, complex orders for multiple tables in his head without writing a single word. But the moment the bill was paid, the memory vanished. When asked to repeat an order served 2 minutes prior, he drew a blank. The information was held in sharp focus only as long as the transaction remained open. Researcher Bluma Zeigarnik and her colleague Kurt Lewin theorized that starting a task is like stretching a rubber band. This creates a loop of psychological tension that keeps irrelevant details active in your working memory. Completing the task snaps that tension shut. The loop closes, the pressure dissolves, and the brain, prioritizing efficiency, allows the information to fall away. This is the Zeigarnik effect, the principle that unfinished tasks create a psychological open loop that requires a specific resolution to be released from memory. This biological mechanism is frequently used as a tool for engagement. Television writers use mid-scene cliffhangers to stretch the cognitive rubber band, creating an itch for resolution that keeps viewers watching through the night. Digital designers apply the same logic to user interfaces. The red notification badge on a smartphone functions as an artificial open loop, engineered to remain visible until the user interacts with the app. These are not accidental distractions. They are deliberate applications of the Zeigarnik effect, designed to hold attention by preventing the brain from reaching cognitive closure. While a single open loop can be useful for focus, carrying dozens of unfinished tasks simultaneously creates a state of chronic mental fragmentation. In a series of experiments in 2011, researchers found that these unfinished goals act like background apps on a smartphone. While reading a simple passage of text, unresolved tasks force their way into the mind as intrusive thoughts, rapidly draining their cognitive battery. This had measurable consequences. When carrying open loops, subjects' performance dropped on entirely unrelated problem-solving puzzles. These unfinished tasks are active cognitive leaks. They continuously draw processing power away from the present moment, making it harder to think clearly about the work right in front of you. The common reaction is to try and finish everything at once to clear the deck. But in a modern environment with endless incoming demands, finishing your way to a quiet mind is mathematically impossible. The 2011 research, however, identified a more efficient path to relief. The brain does not actually require a task to be completed to release its grip on your attention. To quiet the interference, the mind needs proof that the task is handled. On the left, vague items like taxes keep loops open. On the right, a concrete plan, noting exactly when and where you will take the next step, causes the loop to snap shut. Providing a specific, credible path acts as a release valve for the internal tension. This allows the mind to pivot its focus immediately, even though the actual work remains undone. You can also use this mechanism to overcome the friction of starting. This is the Ovsiankina effect, the stubborn psychological urge to resume a task once it has been interrupted. The novelist Ernest Hemingway famously used this to maintain his momentum. He would intentionally stop writing in the middle of a sentence, while he still knew exactly what the next words would be. By walking away at an obvious next step, you leave an open loop that the brain wants to close. The following morning, the internal pull to finish that sentence makes starting the work nearly effortless. An open loop without a plan is a cognitive drain, but one you've prepared for becomes a source of momentum. Take 60 seconds right now to identify your loudest unfinished task and write down exactly when and how you will take the next step. Give your mind the plan it is asking for and close the loop.